The continent. At the mansion, the Duke and Chiffin are engaged in a discussion. Chiffin asks the Duke if they can first confirm if Joshua was really born with a mana defect. The man also updates him on the rumors spreading about Joshua defeating Babel, and two of the knights ask Rawls where his friends Gord and Lloyd are, but they receive no response. The Duke asks Joshua to prepare since they have to leave to judge Joshua's mana. Meanwhile, the knights are talking amongst themselves, and one of the knights tells Chiffin that he's scared he might lose his place because his position is at stake. The Royal Knight Order is about to arrive, and as it does, Joshua catches a glimpse of the fourth prince, Kaiser Van Britten, someone who played a significant role in his previous life. Joker, the 1st Imperial Battalion Knight Order captain, is involved in a fight with the newbies who have joined the battalion. He believes they are new and need to stop pretending to be knights with the little mana they have. A man enters and tells Joker that there's a mission from Vanessa Nim, and she has asked Joker to look after it. The mission is to make sure Joshua never gets to wield a sword again. Joshua encounters Kaiser and is full of wrath, remembering all that had happened in his previous life. The knight asks Joshua to be respectful towards Prince Kaiser, which annoys Joshua, and he says that there can't be two suns under the same sky in the Empire. He continues by saying that the only person who deserves respect is the Emperor. Kaiser Van says he, too, won't respect someone with an uncertain identity like Joshua. The 9th Imperial Battalion Vice Captain, Ba Mung Dan, shows up with his knights and approaches Joshua. He degrades Joshua and calls him the illegitimate child, who is probably insane. Joshua's knight takes out his sword to protect his master and is bashed by Ba Mung for defending a lowly illegitimate son. The knight defends him, saying that Joshua is part of Duke Agnes' family and must be respected. One of the 9 stars, Duke von Agnes, shows up and asks Joshua to apologize for acting rashly towards the prince, but Van Britten, with his manipulative nature and convincing manner, says that it is all right and that Joshua needs to show that he really is a knight, doesn't just talk without action. Joshua is aware of Van Britten's crafty methods. Joker asks Van Britten if he can fight Joshua and also identify if Joshua really possesses mana. On the training ground, Joshua and Joker confront each other, all set to show their abilities. Joker laughs at Joshua for carrying a stick, which he believes would be of no help. As Joker attacks Joshua, he feels a heavy pressure that pushes him backward. It is obvious that Joshua is winning with all the techniques he uses. Joker feels defeated already and knows that if he doesn't defeat Joshua, he will have to be answerable to Vanessa. The knights are concerned because the Joker's magic went beyond B grade and Joshua may be in danger. Ba Mung asks Joker to stop as it gets too problematic. Joker, with his B grade mana, is pushed back and thrown to the ground, which shocks him. He's bewildered as to how he gets defeated even with B grade mana. Joshua finds it hard to fight Joker with the B grade mana he's using. Joshua has no other option but to activate Luja. The knights observe that Joshua has used an artifact, which is a weapon that contains magic. Van Britten asks Ba Mung to stop the fight since he has already figured out that Joshua's skills are very impressive. Joshua is appreciated for his skills and is appointed as a C-rank knight. Joshua's resentment towards the prince and the knights is shown through his words, as he says, "I'll make sure everyone here suffers." Joshua is handed a sword with the title of the youngest mana user. The Agnes family gathers for a regular meeting. The Duke asks them to report anything they have noticed lately. Count Onel says that the knights who left for the expedition have returned because of black ogres, one of the strongest monsters in the Black Forest. Everyone's scared as to how anyone would be capable of fighting the monsters. The Duke asks if there are more issues, and Chiffin says he has an unresolved matter. Chiffin says that Joshua's skills and abilities are somewhat hard to believe and that no one can easily wrap their heads around what they saw earlier. He expresses his concern that Joshua might be borrowing the powers of an outer source, which may endanger the future. He mentions the weapon Joshua was using, a spear that had some extraordinary magical powers in it. Everyone seems to now be skeptical about Joshua's abilities. Joshua enters the room, and as he passes by Chiffin, he challenges him to cross blades with him since he's the one who's very dubious about Joshua's skills. Chiffin is triggered and starts shouting at Joshua, which agitates the Duke, and he asks them to stop. The Duke tells Chiffin that Joshua's skills have been observed by the magician Evergreen of the Royal Knight Order, and if there was anything suspicious, the Royal Knight would have noticed it. The Duke further says that there are things that he still needs to confirm, so in order to figure out Joshua's abilities, he will have to take him to the Forest of Dark Beings. The knights show their concern towards the Duke sending Joshua to the forest, as they think it may not be safe. The Duke says that once the forest is cleared, he'll be admitting Joshua to the Imperial Academy in the capital. Chiffin is concerned because if the Duke sends Joshua to the academy, they won't be able to harm him in any way, and if his skills get more polished, there are chances of Babel being pushed back from the air competition. Joshua requests that the Duke let his mother Lucia go along with him, which Chiffin says isn't right, but the Duke agrees and allows Joshua to take her along. As the Duke finishes the meeting, Babel shows up and pays his respects to the Duke. Chiffin is triggered that Joshua doesn't show respect to Babel. The Duke asks why he has shown up so late, and Babel says that he would officially want to renounce the official heir seat of the Agnes family. Everyone's extremely surprised, including Chiffin, who had been finding ways to get rid of Joshua so that Babel could get the title of the next heir. The Duke is happy with the change and finds it a positive one. Meanwhile, Duchess Vanessa is concerned about Babel and says that he's very stubborn and won't change his mind. She's aware of all the previous events and asks Chiffin about Joshua's plans. He notifies her with all the details, and she decides to have a private meeting with Lucia before they depart for the capital. The knights are preparing to depart, and as they do so, Joshua remembers that the Duke has given him a gift called the Dawn Ring, which is an artifact that allows the user to don an armor as soon as mana is injected into the ring. He asks Joshua to change his identity while he's in the jungle. Joshua is glad to see the position he has acquired in such a short period of time. The Duke asks Joshua if he resents him, to which Joshua reminisces about how in the next 10 years the Duke will meet his unexpected end in the Civil War, but he seems to have formed a connection with him by now. Kaiser Van Britten shows up and, with his manipulative words, tells Joshua that he will assist and protect him and give him the benefit of entering the Knight Order without taking the Imperial Knight test. Joshua is annoyed, knowing how manipulative and vile Kaiser is. They depart with only one Knight Order, the 4th-class magician, Armin, and 100 others, including Joshua and Babel. They reach the castle on the loch, adjacent to the Forest of Dark Beings. As they approach the castle, the Viscount, Big, who is also Vanessa's relative, and Anna, his daughter, show up to welcome the Duke. Big asks about Joshua, and Chiffin says that he's the illegitimate son of the Duke, and Big seems to despise Joshua already. The Duke asks for them to finish the introduction and get to work. Big, however, asks them to first rest and then begin their task, but the Duke says his men are weak and don't really need any rest. Big says he'll join them even though his efforts may be of no use. The Duke tells Big not to come since Anna would be home alone, which is not safe. Big says that Anna possesses the extraordinary quality of spirit magic and would be a great help if taken along for the task. Joshua is amused by Anna's skills and thinks she has a familiar face. Meanwhile, at the Avalon Empire, the Emperor is discussing the previous events with one of his strongest knights. He's amazed by the extraordinary and incredible qualities of Joshua. He asks his knight, Evergrande, for an opinion about Joshua and how much potential he has. The knight says there was something different about Joshua, and fighting him would be somewhat of a big deal. He gets notified with all the details of the conversation between Kaiser and Joshua. Evergrande asks if they can keep Joshua in the palace for a short period of time, and the knight responds that they will do so as Kaiser has already planned it. Joshua, however, is in the forest fighting the monsters and seems to have been intimidated by them. The knights are setting up their camps for the night as the Duke tells them that monsters will show up, especially during the red moon, and become several times more aggressive. The period between the monsters coming down to the town has become shorter and is harming the citizens. The Duke says they won't approach them first. He then sends them all to set up the camps. While they are collecting materials for the camps, Joshua asks the men to go back since he'll take some time collecting more materials. Just as they go, Joshua goes inside the forest with his spear, saying, "This is my only chance." Big is caught stalking him from behind the trees. There are things that were born out of the power of the primordial, just as there are.
That's it for today. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.